Hello, it's Thursday, October 6th, 2016, and as of this recording, I'm still depressed, but I'm not dead. Real quick, I want to shout out to the folks who have been sending me some really good feedback on the show, Mike and Brian and Beth. I appreciate the messages you guys send me, the emails you send me. You give me quite a bit to think about. And, I want to get to some of those topics here on the show, but I'm not quite finished noodling on them just yet. So maybe in the upcoming weeks. Not next week, I know that, because I'll be in Michigan for the week visiting family and friends. I won't attempt to promise to put a show out next week. I've failed at that quite triumphantly in the past. I am going to bring some gear and see if maybe I can get something recorded while the kids are at school or whatnot. I won't promise it. Maybe a big mid-October surprise for y'all. We'll see. But before I get into the show today, let me remind you all how you can get a hold of me. I'm available on email at jamoalki@gmail.com, on Twitter at jamoalki, facebook.com/jamoalki, and the ever struggling blog, jamoalki.info. Again, that's JAMOALKI for Jamoalki. Hit me up on any of those platforms and let's have a conversation. And one other way you can get a hold of me, something I'd mentioned, I think last show, there is now a Google Voice number for the show. I don't know if that's exciting or lame or what, but let me give that to you. It's area code 248-648-1419. It is technically a voice line, but it's not tied to an actual phone anywhere. So unless I happen to be on Google Voice when you call, I won't know that's happening, but you are more than welcome to leave a voicemail. And, if you want to have a voice chat, leave me a voicemail. Let me know how I can call you back, and I will get that information via email. And then I can set up through Google Voice or Google Hangout, that I could give you a call back with a headset on a desktop computer. The better way that it does work, I think, is for text messaging. I will get notifications on my phone if you send a text to that number. I've tried that out a little bit with a short exchange with my friend Beth, good friend of the show, Beth, and it seemed to work out pretty well. I thought it went pretty smoothly. She didn't give me any feedback that it was clunky or weird or, like it didn't come up as a text from like some 5-digit phone number, like you get when you sign up for, Minute Clinic at Target or something. So yeah, send me a message there if you like. If texting is your thing, I would love to hear from each and every one of you. Oh, also, with the show, wherever you download, it's iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, whatever. If you get it from somewhere where you're able to rate the show, I will ask you, please, if you think the show has any kind of value or merit and you think someone else may enjoy or benefit from the insight that I hope to be putting out there, rate the show highly. 4 stars if that's the max, 5 stars if that's the max. That does help the show kind of rise up in search rankings, and we'll get some more ears on the podcast. So if you're comfortable doing so, please do. If you're not comfortable with that, that's great. I'd still appreciate you taking the time to listen to me when I put these shows out. So yeah, get a hold of me any way you like, and let's have a conversation. That's it for the boring housekeeping ramblings. Let's get into the show. So, quick update on the physical aspects of me. I've mentioned the exercise, the fitness, the losing weight kind of thing. Currently, as of recording, I am down 16 pounds, so pretty good. Again, still maybe a little faster than I ought to be on the weight loss, but I think I'm still doing it healthy. I'm not eating garbage outside of breakfast, which is still generally bagels. So yeah, so I've lost a fair amount of weight. I've still got about 30 plus pounds to go, but moving forward every day, I guess. Lifting weights at the gym, I'm kind of bumping up the weight pretty regularly. I'm at points now where I'm lifting weights I haven't lifted before. I'm not saying I'm going to turn out to be like Atlas or Arnold Schwarzenegger in his heyday, but I'm do the weightlifting as more of an accountability for me to say, hey, here's something that isn't easy. It's not something you need to do, but I want you to do it, and I want to improve and kind of fight through when it gets tough, when days when I don't want to go. Just the other night, I didn't really want to go. Nora's out of town, and she convinced me that it was probably in my best interest to go, and I was still on the fence, and I said, no, you know what, I'm going to go tomorrow. I'm going to eat pizza tonight. And I sat down, got on the computer, looked up where I was going to get pizza from, and couldn't order it. I felt like I was letting myself down if I did so I packed my bag and off I went to the gym. That and running, I recently did like 8.1 miles on the treadmill, which is a new high for me since I moved to the St. Paul area. Funny, so I did that the other day, right on the weekend, Sunday, and yesterday I went out to do some actual like boots on the ground kind of running, not on a treadmill. I don't know if it's a combination of my sleep being poor when Nora's not here, or maybe my appetite or food intake hasn't been what it should be. But right from the first step, I felt like I was running uphill into the wind, and really took almost everything I had to get 2 miles in. And yeah, I'm not sure what that was all about. I get that treadmill running isn't the same as actual on the ground running outdoors, but 8 miles on a treadmill should equate to a little bit more than 2 miles on the street. So yeah, we'll have to see what that's about, and hopefully I figure that out before this coming Sunday, when Nora and I will be doing that 10-mile race, spanning the distance from Minneapolis to St. Paul, which really, it sounds pretty cool to say I ran from this one major city to this other major city, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll let you guys know how that goes. So, so that's going on. I'm trying to do some more reading. So I finally finished reading this book that was my stationary bike book that I would read only when on the bike at the gym. And it was The Stand by Stephen King. And those of you who are familiar with it know that it is a fairly long book. So it was, I took some breaks there when I wasn't going to the gym, but it was at least a 2-year journey for me to finish that book. So yay me, finish that. And I'm trying to find something new to read. I have started up with my girls again. We picked 2 books, one each, that we would read concurrently and get together, at least on the phone, talk about what we read, up through chapter 4 or whatnot. So I'm trying to do that. I've got a stack of Discover magazines that have just been showing up on the house and going into a pile on my nightstand. I'm trying to read an article, a day, every other day or so in that. So yeah, so I got that going. My lenses that I see the world in or through, I guess they don't necessarily seem as dark and dreary as they probably were even 3 months ago, 4 months ago. So that's a win. Something that is new, or recently new, is that I've had, occasional dreams at night, which is something I really couldn't say I recall any for years. And that's kind of interesting. They kind of span the gamut of, kind of what we would consider a nightmare, I suppose, to old friends who I haven't seen in forever, in a window across the street in their apartment, or, some calling back to my retail days where I'm working in a Home Depot, that kind of stuff. I don't know. Folks say, hey, dreams mean something. Who knows? I'm not putting any stock into that, but it's just remarkable or worth noting that I have started having some dreams that I can recall. So, woohoo, yay me, subconscious. So yeah, overall, I would say things seem to be improving. I would suspect that those who interact with me kind of day to day or so, which really amounts to Nora and the kids, would say that, hey, yeah, JP has seemed a little more lively, a little more active, maybe, cracking a few more jokes. By all accounts, I'm improving. But the problem I have with all that is, as of late, past 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, not all the, but I've had, suicidal ideations have come back. Almost a daily thing, not anything like I had back when I had attempted suicide or the months following that, but they're back. If I'm buzzing through news articles or whatnot, and I see, anything that seems like a novel way that is killing someone, think back to the Imodium story that I had read, stories like that. I really kind of take interest in them, and it's like I'm cataloging that information away as kind of a growing resource of ideas. There are times each day when, even if I'm at the gym, even if I'm running, if I'm food shopping, if I'm laying in bed watching TV with Nora, who knows when it can come up, but just the overwhelming feeling that, man, wouldn't it just be great if it all just went away? And, the kind of the pain, the unhappiness, the uncertainty, the guilt, everything. Wouldn't it be great if that could just go away? And, it seems, I'm not saying that I am ready to go, come up with a plan. Not even saying that it's, an idea that is kind of infiltrating and staying in my head. You're suicidal, or you have suicidal ideations, or you have a plan. There's all these different subsets or, stages of suicide, I guess. And, having the ideations is not an uncommon thing for anyone who has depression or bipolar or, schizophrenia or anything like that. I mean, there's kind of going off the rails here. So the ideations are back, and I'm not really planning anything. I'm not running away with them. They're not overpowering in any way, but they're back, within these few weeks when it would seem things are improving or, moving the way you would want them to move in recovery. So there's some kind of disconnect there. And I'm not really sure what it is. I'm not sure what I'm missing, why I'm missing it. But, I'm looking. I'm trying to figure it out. I, still going to therapy and my DBSA meetings and kind of reaching out to other folks, online community and whatnot. So I have hope that I'll get it figured out. So, it's not ideal, but it's not as bad as I was a few months ago, which was not as bad as I was a few months before that, and on and on. So anyway, so I found myself, the other day, I was walking up to get some bagels. The weather is turning, but there's still some really nice mornings that are just, relaxing to go take a walk to get some bagels, burn some calories along the way to help me earn that third bagel. So I'm walking around the lake, taking the long way to burn a few more calories, and just kind of thinking about where I am in my day, in my progress, in all that. And, I wasn't really engaged in any one thought. So my mind is wandering, and I'm like, oh crap, my knee hurts. Really, I should cut back on this running. Why did you take your medication this morning on an empty stomach? I feel like crap. that awful nauseous feeling that you get sometimes when you take medication on an empty stomach. And I remembered that, holy crap, I forgot to call my 17-year-old the night before, that we had talked about calling and talking weekly. And, we've had a few troubles on different nights, didn't work, but totally blew it the night before. Didn't even, all wrapped up in my own head, and totally forgot to call her. I was thinking about the dream I had the night before, how I was in a snowmobile accident, and I was alone in the woods. Exposure, finally got the better of me, and in my dream, I died from that. And it was strange. It was peaceful. It felt nice, right? So I got these and many other thoughts kind of running around in my head, and slowly, I could feel myself getting more bummed, more down, and, able to recognize that I was in this kind of struggle right then, and I was losing, and my thoughts were kind of getting the better of me at that point. And so, I started thinking about, what's going on? What's the deal? And a pretty routine, consistent message that I see on Twitter a lot, and in different groups that I've been in, where people will say, well, that's not you, that's your depression talking. It's one of those things, I heard that a million times, and it's mindlessly say, oh yeah, that's the depression talking, but not really kind of understanding what it means, or what it could mean, if it means anything at all. I kind of made a decision right then that, okay, let's say that is my depression talking. What is my depression? And I thought, I thought about a podcast I listened to. I don't know if I mentioned it here. These folks talking about tulpas, TULPAs. Yeah, PA. And it's this, there's a group of people. It's an online community, but I guess it isn't necessarily have to be online. But folks who create their own, it seems like it's an alter ego to me, but it's they see it as a totally different person, and it's a whole big long thing. And I'll try to put some links in the show notes for this. But essentially, it's think of it as dissociative identity disorder, so wrongly labeled by a lot of people as multiple personality disorder. Think of it as that, but it's by choice. So these people who make their own friends, which kind of morphs into an identity in their head. So I was thinking about that, thinking about my depression, and okay, what if, not that I want to have a depressed friend in my mind, or, a depressed identity separate than me. But what if I looked at my depression that way as, and it sounds kind of crazy talking about it, but what if I picture it as a part in my brain that is doing its own thing, that's formulating these ideas? What could I do with that? How could I combat that? How could I battle that? How could I fight that? I thought, okay, so let's think about this. Let's try this. Let me have kind of a internal discussion about these items. So I was like, okay, so the dream was just a dream. Dying of exposure probably isn't all that great, especially with a broken leg. That's irrational, illogical. Let's pack that away. I'm feeling crappy. Okay, 15 minutes, you're going to be at the bagel shop, eat a bagel, get some water, you're going to feel fine, temporary thing. Same thing with the knee. Yeah, it hurts at times, more times than others, but it's manageable, it's hopefully fixable, and it's not the end of the world. Millions of people have knee pain. And yeah, it sucks for what you're trying to do to be more mobile and run and stuff like that, but figure it out. You're clearly not getting it done properly this way, so find another path, just like you tell everybody you talk to about mental illness. If you're not on the right path right now, be open to keep looking for a new one. The one about forgetting to call Al, we'll call her Al, jamoalki. I'm going to start with that. So I'll have Joe, J, Mo, Al, and Key. So those are my girls. So the call was supposed to go to Al, I, get a hold of her after school and apologize, let her know what happened, and we can make it up, right? We love each other. She's wonderful. So, okay, it sucked. You made a mistake. Carry on. And other more stuff that was going on in my head than that. And gosh, I'm kind of rambling here as it is. I don't want to bore everybody with that. But I felt like I was kind of winning those individual battles, and I was able to, maybe not, I guess win might be a little strong. I was able to rephrase them. I was able to, put them into kind of a, marginalize them, I guess we'll say, and to put a better perspective on them. That, yeah, okay, these things, they, individually aren't good, I guess. I don't know. They're not, but they're not awful, right? They're not as awful as they tend to get, especially when, one thing after the other, that I internalize inside my head. So I thought, wow, I got to the bagel shop and I thought, wow, this is something. This is, this is good, right? This is me. What was it? Plato had the dialectic. Am I saying that right? Yeah. Internal conversation you have with yourself. So maybe this is a breakthrough. Maybe this is something I can work on. So the rest of the day, I kind of kept, working on that internal self-talk. So I made it through that day, and I made it through the next day and the next day. And by the third day, I realized that I wasn't, some things I was solving by this, some things I was just kind of marginalizing enough to push to the side, and not really getting a conclusion, not getting any closure on some of those things. My knees still hurt, and I realized I hadn't done anything to try to make that better. That third day, which was a Friday, I think, I took my medication without eating again. And I was like, oh, geez, whatever. And I know these are all kind of silly things, but, I realized that I was pushing them down and not letting them build and being part of something bigger in my head. But a lot of it I wasn't taking care of. And above that, all this kind of internal self-talk and kind of mental outlay in doing this just exhausted me, right? Like I said, there were times I would win and I would solve some menial issue, right? That otherwise would have maybe not been huge in itself, but, another layer in the giant Jenga pile stack of my depression. There were lots more that I lost, actually. The more I tried, because I was, I wanted to try because I was, I still remembered that aha kind of feeling on the first day that, hey, this is something. But it just drained me, emotionally, intellectually. I was just toast. I got to the point where physically I was just exhausted. I spent most of Sunday just in bed sleeping, not even, not like that kind of stereotypical depression. I'm not going anywhere today. I can't move. I was just exhausted. I slept, got up in the morning, did something, got back into bed. That was it. I slept and slept and slept. And, this is just that kind of internal self-talk that was doing this. And not to mention the kind of external talks that I would have with anybody who I was spending time with, Nora or the kids or therapist, or, when I go to the DBSA group, I don't always, take part in, sharing a story, but when I do, that's exhausting. So, it was strange, I guess, in a way that, and so I've known for a while that kind of talking outwardly is very exhausting to me. And I have a kind of a theory that's why I used to drink so much caffeinated soda, was because it was just exhausting for me to talk to people. Somehow along the way I got hooked into the caffeine thing, and I just find some kind of solace and maybe a little bit of energy in those caffeinated drinks. So I got these things going on, and it's exhausting me. And kind of the more tired I would get, which isn't unique to me, the more frequently I had depressive thoughts. And, molehills became mountains, and, mountains became, what's bigger than a mountain? I don't know. So, the more frequently these dark thoughts came. And then the more frequently they came, the more I would try to fight them, because I felt like I was on this path of winning. And so the more I would try to fight them, the more tired I would get, the more they would come, blah, blah, blah. You kind of see where this is all going, right? It's just kind of this downward spiral of kind of having this battle and in essence losing, but, wanting to kind of see it through and have some kind of belief that I was doing something positive. It took me, it sounds like a long time, but, inside of a week, I realized, holy crap, I just can't do this right now. Something's not right. I believe that I'm on to some kind of nugget, some kind of kernel of, yes, this is a good thing. Of course, I also believe that I don't have the right kind of angle on this. My perspective isn't right. Maybe I don't have the right tools in my toolbox to have these kind of internal conversations. Maybe I need to make them external. Maybe I need to have someone to talk to about these things. I think that's a big ask. If say every 5 little things that build up, or one bigger thing that builds up, then I can get a hold of you and we can talk about these things. That seems like a big investment to ask someone to spend in my life in any 24-hour period. I don't know, but maybe there's some mixture in there. I don't know. I kind of, I'll ask you guys, have any of you thought about this? Have any of you tried this? Have any of you read an article or seen something? Let me know. Send me a link, send me a story, whatever. Here's kind of what I do know. I talked a long while back about the depression screening app that I have on my phone, where it kind of gives me a score based on, I think it's like 19 questions. And, they're pretty standard that you would find on any kind of depression screening. So when it formulates that into a score, and based on that score, you're kind of ranked as far as, you're doing okay, to, yeah, you might be a little depressed. Yeah, hey, you might be, need to go talk to someone. Hey, you're depressed. Hey, you're like over the cliff kind of thing. So, I still use that I had been using it like every day, and realized that was a little too much. So now maybe once a week, maybe, 3 times every 2 weeks, something like that. And in general, over the past 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, my score has improved, which is good, right? However, I would say that my suicidal ideations are as high as they've ever been. I know that my mood isn't where it was back before January 2014, even all of 2014. Why do I keep saying 2014? It's 2015. Yeah, I apologize to you guys. So January 2015. So pretty much all of 2015, my mood is better than it was for that calendar year. But the idea of suicide is, in my head, it's a positive potential idea. My energy is higher in some ways. Kind of taking care of Nora, obviously the exercise, the dieting. I find myself trying to reach out more to others who have similar stories to me, online and through the DBSA group and whatnot. So yeah, so that's good, but it seems like as much as I try, I can't muster up the energy or maintain any energy focusing on my mental or emotional health. I haven't seen really any improvement. I had this one idea, this nugget, and I still want to follow it through, but I don't know how. And as of right now, I can't do that with the information that I have right now. I can see the progress in the past, 19 months, 20 months, whatever it is. This month was better than last month, which was better than the month before, which, maybe wasn't as good as the month before that, which, so if we're plotting all, if we could plot my mood, we would see that it's generally improving over the past year and a half to 2 years. I don't know if that's good enough. I don't know if it's improved enough. I don't know if the slope of my improvement has kind of leveled off. Maybe who knows? I don't know. Something that also stands out to me. You remember the story about that I went through, the kind of saga of the self-submission for the purchase of a firearm, that whole deal that I went through trying to figure out how I could do that. The past couple of weeks, I've actually been angry at myself for having done that. There are times I find myself thinking that was a mistake, that I took a possible option off the table. And in my head, my mind, inside my head, I hear myself saying that, God, that was foolish. Why would you want to hinder yourself in that way? And I can snap back from that and say, oh, hey, there's my depression talking, right? Which, okay, is my depression talking. It wasn't saying that, last month, the month before. So are these signs that maybe I'm taking a little dip back the wrong way? Is it just kind of random noise? I don't know, but I know that it's kind of a mixed bag, I guess. Some things I could argue are improved in a certain time scale, and other things I could argue I've gone downhill in a certain time scale. And, maybe it's all just the normal kind of ups and downs of life. Just that, my flat is, below sea level. So I'm up and down from there. Whereas, someone who does not have a mental illness like mine, their flat is, 400 feet above sea level. So their ups and downs, my ups and downs I don't know. I'm kind of rambling now. Ooh, that's a lot of talking, 41 minutes. I'll probably cut this down a little bit. So thanks guys for listening to me. I hope I don't make it sound like everything is awful, because it surely isn't completely awful. I'm not despondent. I'm not, with no hope. I still want to figure this all out. Just kind of, I guess I'll say it's unsettling to have some of these thoughts come back, especially questioning some actions I've taken in the past to protect myself. That's different for me. We'll see. I don't know. One day at a time is kind of how I'm going to take it. At DBSA last night, we brought up, getting through the next minute, getting through the next hour, the next 3 hours. I don't want to live my life minute to minute. But I get where that can be valuable on some days. I'd like to be kind of day by day right now, but even that gets kind of frustrating at times. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. I feel like the show is a little bit disjointed. I'll see if I can pull myself together for the next one. Keep the emails coming. I appreciate it. I haven't gotten back to very many. I've been kind of self-absorbed the past couple weeks, and I'll see what I can do about changing that. So thanks, everybody. I so much appreciate you taking the time to listen to the show. Everybody be safe and be well. So,